How do you buy EU citizenship? The reality, of course, is that citizenship in an EU country isn't quote-unquote for sale, but there are ways to speed up the process, including a few wildcard options I'm going to talk about in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. There are some folks out there who really want that European Union passport. They want the right to live, to work, to study, to get health care, to pass down to their children all the benefits of EU citizenship. And while I think that long-term there may be some challenges with that strategy, the reality is that there are ways to quote-unquote buy EU citizenship without even necessarily having to pay anything in taxes. Now, the traditional way of going and becoming an EU citizen is you get a residence permit, whether it's through a job, starting a business, getting married, whatever the case may be. You move to Germany, to Spain, to France, wherever, and you follow the naturalization timeline. You wait a number of years, you spend a certain amount of time in the country. That time in the country generally qualifies you to have to pay tax at extremely high rates. It's just not very fast. It's not very cost effective. So there are three ways that you can get EU citizenship. The first way is citizenship by investment. Now, quite frankly, I think there are better options for the average Westerner, but if you're really focused on getting only an EU citizenship, there are currently two options where you can go and you can put your money and get EU citizenship. Number one is in Malta. This is going to involve a 650,000 euro donation to the government. It's going to increase slightly for every dependent that you have, whether it's your spouse, your children, etc. In addition to that, you're going to need to rent or buy a house on one of the islands in Malta. That's either going to be a multi-six-figure real estate investment, depending on where you are, or it's going to be a near six-figure rental contract over the first 5 years. That's because Malta wants you to show your ties to the country. Because Malta is the only citizenship by investment program whose country is part of the borderless Schengen area, they have certain people they have to appease, so they want to make sure that whoever is getting citizenship has genuine links to Malta. In addition to your donation and in addition to the real estate, you also need to invest in bonds, $150,000, or euros rather, for 5 years. You've got to hold that. They don't pay any interest. All in with legal fees, government fees, everything that has to be paid, you're probably out about $1 million. But you're going to get, in roughly a year, a little bit longer, citizenship in the only country in the Schengen area that offers such an opportunity. The other citizenship by investment program in Europe is in Cyprus. Cyprus used to be extremely straightforward, extremely fast track. They're starting to make things a bit more difficult because they want to get the right people in. But the bottom line is 2 million euros in real estate investment. And with that, there's going to be some real estate taxes to pay in most cases. A lot of people don't understand that. So Cyprus, 2 million euros. You need to hold part of that investment basically forever. And so it makes it a little bit weird. It's also rather expensive because it's just so much money to tie up in real estate in such a small country. Cities like Limassol have seen their real estate markets skyrocket because of all these people, particularly from Russia, some from China, coming and buying property to qualify for this program. They're buying new property right along the water and prices are through the roof. Quite frankly, I think both of those programs for the average Westerner are overpriced. I would want to have multi-deca millions before I would go through one of those programs if I were the average person. The second option is a residence by investment program. These are the so-called golden visas, and you can watch our video here where we talk about golden visas. There are a number of golden visa programs all over Europe. Not all of them lead to citizenship, and some of those that do require you to spend a substantial amount of time there, and again, that means paying a substantial amount of tax potentially. The one that stands out to me is Portugal's golden visa program. They recently made it even easier. It takes 5 years to become a citizen of Portugal. You do need to learn some level of Portuguese, but we've confirmed people are actually being naturalized under this program as Portuguese citizens. And it offers all the benefits of Malta's program, only it takes 5 years plus processing time versus a little more than 1 year. So it's going to take you longer. But what do you need to do in those 5 years? You need to spend minimal time. In most years, 14 days per year in the country. You need to have 500,000 euros in real estate. Real estate, that while yes, there are a lot of government fees and legal fees, there's fees to renew your golden visa, it's not cheap, but those are going to pale in comparison to the fee you're going to pay all at once to get in with Malta. So if you have a bit of time to wait, you can certainly do Portugal, wait about 6 years all in, and you'll have your Portuguese passport. That you can get that through a residence by investment program. Bulgaria also has a residence by investment program, what I would call fast track naturalization. It can take 5 years, or you can shorten it to 2 years by investing about €1 million in bonds. There is an option to finance those, and in return you get Bulgarian citizenship in about 2 years. So if your goal is just to be in the EU, you might not want to live in Bulgaria, but you can then leverage that EU citizenship into going and living somewhere else. In my case, it might be, I want to go live in Dublin. You could do that. You could do that with any of them. Bulgaria may be the lowest cost option. It's also the option that's of least interest to most people. But those are residence by investment options. In these cases, you don't need to spend much time in the country, so that way you can be out doing other things. Because you're not in the country, you can generally, with a little bit of planning, not pay tax in that country, and you just sit back and wait for your passport if you have the patience. What for a lot of people would actually work is, if you need a second passport now, go out and get a cheaper passport, go out and get some kind of Caribbean citizenship by investment or some cheaper fast-track naturalization, and then get the golden visa option as your plan 2, as your second passport that allows you to live in Europe and then eventually become a citizen. But here's the wild card. Here's number 3. 2 countries recently came out with new citizenship by investment programs. Neither of them really excite me that much for the kind of people that I talk to and help. But Montenegro and Moldova now have citizenship by investment programs. And as with any country that borders the EU or is in the vicinity of the EU, both of these countries have been discussed as possible EU candidates. Moldova less so. Montenegro, some people act as if it's a certainty that the country will ascend to the European Union at some point in the future. But this is kind of an interesting wild card strategy. If you don't really need or want that EU passport now and you want to take a call option on European citizenship, getting some kind of either citizenship by investment with one of these two, or getting on the residence permit track with a naturalization program in the future could be an interesting option in one of the countries that borders the EU. So Serbia, for example, are you willing to go and live in Serbia part of the year and own a home there in order to get a residence permit and potentially be naturalized later? How about Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia probably less so, Moldova less so. There are all these countries that surround the EU, and as the EU potentially grows, it could be a cheaper way to take a call option. Of course, nothing's guaranteed. I think that many of these claims are far ballyhooed. I'm not even sure what's happening with Montenegro. They may be the most likely. And right now, it's going to cost you about €500,000 to get into their citizenship program, and you have to hurry because it's allegedly limited. Other countries, I think, are less likely. But if you have some kind of knowledge or you just want to take a bet that those countries will eventually join the EU, you can certainly get citizenship, whether by investment or by naturalization, in a country that has future EU potential. So if you're really dead set on that EU passport, those are 3 ways you can do it. It's always going to cost more. It's always going to involve more tax planning if you want that European passport versus almost any other, which is why so many times when I talk to someone and they say they want to live in Europe, I say, let's focus on the residence permit. Get the citizenship somewhere else. You'll thank me later. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.